We're going to begin. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'd ask the Clerk Domingo to call the roll.
Councilmember Barnes. Here. Reed. Here. Brown.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Spicer.
Here.
French.
Here.
And Mayor Brown.
Here. Next on the agenda, we'll have citizens' comments. Persons addressing the city council shall limit their comments to agenda items only, or the agenda item only, and to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask for proper decorum. Are there any citizens' comments? Oh, and please come forward, state your name, and then also your address.
Margaret Powell, 116 West Pine Street, Albion, Michigan. I had a question about the single refuse hauler. Is this bill going to be attached to our water bill, or is it going to be a separate bill?
It will be a separate bill by the contractor. They will do the billing and collection, so it will not be on your water bill or property tax bill.
So will it be the same like every 3 months or monthly or what? You don't,
Quarterly, so every 3 months.
every 3 months? Oh, okay, thank you.
Elbering Showers. As you know, I don't like this one single hauler. It talks about 2,000 something residents have to be connected to this hauler. You can't share, you can't opt out of waste, leaves, yard, a lot of other things, and I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. And also, you say the price would be this price for a month, every 3 months. But they can up the price. No. Oh, yeah, and this paper said,
3 years.
in this paper it said they can come back and ask for gas increase, something else and something else that is in there. They can come and ask for an increase. So this is not a set price. This is not a set price, $40 every 3 months. Because just like mine's now, they come back when the gas is up, they come back and up the bill. So you really can't say this is a set price for 3 years because it's not. The gas will go up and this price will go up also. And then the leaf, we have to pay leaf waste. We only do yard work for 4 months, I'll say. But then the other 8 months, we still paying for yard waste. There's no breaking that, or that just goes with the pot. And then y'all had a 2 to 3 meals increase. So do our taxes go down because we're not paying for city pickup? The trash, the yard waste, the leaves and all this, so do our taxes go down because you're not using this money for that? So where's this $200-something thousand? What you gonna do with that, since you're getting that already in the taxes? Not sharing, everybody don't need garbage, because they ain't there. If my rental is vacant, do I still have to pay garbage service? Do the people still have to pay? Or do I get fined $100 because my unit is empty and nobody's paying garbage service? And do I have to pay garbage service for my rentals? If they leave and don't pay it, am I forced to pay that like the water bill that y'all got me doing now? It's just another sidewalk tax gonna be placed on me, just like the garbage. I wanna know these questions. Have y'all already signed the paper that we're gonna accept this here hauler? I don't agree. Did y'all celebrate Martin Luther King yesterday? You know, people died for freedom of choice. Free people died for these issues that y'all putting on us now, that we are bound, a single hauler. I have a choice to choose what I want and don't want. You know, that's the idea of having different services. I had a problem with my, security service, so I opt out with them and got somebody else. But if I got a problem with this here trash person, I can't opt nowhere. Cause I can't stop them, because you'll fine me $100, so many days or whatever days, if I don't have trash removal. So it's a lot of flaws in this here thing, this contract that y'all got us finna get into, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all. I don't. It's like, we're not the Stepford community. Everybody do the same thing. That's not how that works. I don't agree with this here one thing that you're forcing down my throat. And then what's next? Will you say the cable person, we only gonna use this cable in this town and nobody else? And then on and on and on? When does this stop? Y'all like this service? I don't like it. Not one bit. Not one bit.
Are there any other citizens' comments? Yeah, that's the sole agenda item for the work session.
You just state your name and address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Judith Trine, 111 Colfax Street, Albion. And I agree 100% with what the lady just said. This is not freedom of choice. You can't force us to do this. It's wrong. We should be able to elect who we want. For our garbage service, our phone service, our cable service, it don't matter. This all goes back to freedom of speech, freedom of choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Betty Branch. I live at 408 Washington Street. I think the intent on this was to help everybody out. But I have a couple questions. And one of them is the rentals. Now, I feel that, and I don't know, there's some people like myself, I pay for my tenants' garbage. And in turn, I factor that cost into the rent. I don't know if anybody else does that, but that's the easy way. You don't have to worry about cleaning up garbage when they move out or get evicted or whatever. But my question regarding waste management, and the one that you picked out. Granger. Okay, I know from working in Lansing 20 years, they've had Granger, but they always had a couple on the side. How did you come to the agree on Granger when you're comparing the two, the three? I know back years ago when I was on the council, there was like 4, but then we had smaller ones, and we were trying to help them out. Some went out of business, and some just couldn't handle the cost of maintaining their equipment. Is this gonna be a good thing? Not like me, myself. I have trees in my yard. The leaves never fall until after Christmas. They're so buried in the snow. So right now, I just go and pay somebody to come and haul them away. Some people can't do that. I know with Republic, they take up to 3 bags of garbage, or trash, whatever. All you gotta do is set it by your can at no cost. The additional cost of the leaf and all of that, I see with some of the citizens that are not able to walk their can to the curb or whatever. And I know they do offer the service where they will come and pick it up, but you just have to notify them. Also with Republic, and I was telling people at our church, if you are a senior citizen and you tell them that when they bought out the prior company, they lowered the seniors down to $52 every quarter. A lot of people didn't realize that. But you gotta be informed and inform. So I'm just saying, if we could, is this totally final? cannot be broken.
So, one second, so a couple of things about procedure and just process. It's a work session, but we're allowing public comment, and the proper procedure is for us to hear citizens' comments, so if the council is not immediately responding.
Right, okay.
That's,
And I understand that
yeah,
part.
yeah, I know.
Very well.
So that's why we're not immediately responding, but I am
No.
keeping track of comments for responses. Based on that question, that is an important question, so I am going to allow the city attorney to answer that question, and then once public comment is over, the council will begin to discuss it, so.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
What the work session tonight is about what is gonna go into the contract with the single hauler. The city council has already approved an ordinance, to limit residential haulers to a single hauler. They've already done a request for proposals for a single hauler. They've already approved entering into a contract with a particular single hauler. So tonight is not about whether or not a single hauler is gonna happen, it's about what goes into the contract with that single hauler.
One last question. On, in the, hey, hey. Hey.
So they can just hear you right and keep on going what they're doing. They already signed it.
So just out of respect to Ms. Branch, can we let her finish her comments?
My last question is regarding the pickup, the yard pickup, and I need clarification on that, and I think there's other people that didn't understand the rear, pickup. Does that mean going in the yards? What does that consist of?
We'll answer this, yeah. We're gonna answer, I'm just
Okay.
keeping track.
Mary Norton, 406 Fitch Street. As you may know, I've already mentioned a lot of the reasons why I don't approve this. It's really not fair to a lot of people. We're gonna force the seniors who are not here in town to pay for garbage service when they're not even here. That's really not fair. And it's not, I'm not saving the money that you might like to think. What, $10 or $15 a year is all I'm going to save? But if I have extra bags I have to put out, that wipes out all the savings that I have. I just think that it was wrong for you guys to sit up here and pass a bill and not this ordinance and not really tell us what was going on. This was not in the papers. This wasn't in the news. It was, yeah, it was in the paper in a little tiny paragraph, middle of the paper. You need to be more forward with it, and you needed to have sent a letter to every address in this town and tell them what you're planning to do so that they can speak to you before you start signing contracts.
Are there any other, Mr. Arnold?
Wayne Arnold, 906 Hall Street. I haven't heard anything about this, but what I'm hearing from the citizens is this. It seems like there's been some stuff on the agenda that this new administration coming in didn't know about, or they was coming in to vote. Correct me if I'm wrong, was this already on the agenda before the new council was sworn in? I mean, was this something that had been voted on before you guys got in here?
Yeah, so, well,
I'm just,
I guess I don't wanna, I'm trying to respect the public comment before I comment, but I think the heart of it is, this is something that's probably been discussed for over a year. It's been in several council meetings. There's been a council meeting work session specifically devoted to it. The previous council went through the procedure with bids, so it has been going on for some time.
okay,
Yeah.
I understand that. So that gets back to my question. See, we're not being informed here. That was my thing all the time, we're not being informed. But the thing is that I think that a person should have a choice. That's what I think. I mean, if it's gonna, I don't know if we can do anything about it, but what I would suggest is in the future, because this is a done deal, in the future, like I was suggesting, everybody in their precinct, inform the citizens in their precinct so they can stay abrupt on what happened. Because we only got one newspaper, right? And half the people don't get on social media, so it's a thing of being informed, and I can understand how upset that the citizen is because they wasn't informed, and it seems like they getting blindsided. So I would suggest in the future, there's probably nothing we can do about this, because y'all knew, and y'all got, y'all coming on board, so y'all got some issues facing y'all that maybe y'all even got blindsided. But what I suggest in the future, I would suggest that each council person inform the members of their precinct so they'll know what's going on, because other than that, I don't know where they're gonna get the information from. One newspaper, senior citizens don't get on social media. So just find a way to get the information out, and so we won't have to be having these meetings, and people will have a choice on what they want and what they don't want. So it looks like we came in on the end of this one, y'all. So, well, I did, because I mean, if you don't show up for city council meetings, you won't know. And there's no way that we've been informed, so that's my suggestion. I don't think anything can be done at this point, but in the future, let's look at informing the citizens so we'll know ahead of time, because I can tell you right now, I see farther down the road, I see a lot of these meetings coming up. I really do, because, thank you.
Are there any other, the showers?
What's the protocol in avoiding this out? Do I have to go around, knock on every door and see who is gonna sign a petition, or what is the protocol?
Well, I think,
If you're talking about,
Well, can the council can undo any other ordinance and the previous council did not?
I think she's talking about.
Well, I understand. Yeah, no, I understand, but I'm saying, we're not bound by, we haven't signed the contract. But if we could undo the order, I'm not saying we're gonna do that, exactly, that is. Yeah, okay.
so I'd have to ask the attorney. I do know that the charter does allow for citizen referendums to undo ordinances. I don't know the exact number of signatures, but I mean, there is a process for that. Once we start the discussion, I'll kind of explain the rationale behind what probably the previous council was thinking, and what's before us tonight. But to answer your question directly, yes, I mean, there's always options for citizen-based repeals of city ordinances, yes.
May I respectfully ask for a motion of point of order? May we stay with the point of order to allow them the time to do their comments, and then we move forward, because if we keep going out of order and answering their questions, we are out of order for the parliamentary procedure. I would ask that we stay with the point of order, let them finish, and we can move forward.
Yeah, I was just trying to move it forward. Are there any other citizen comments?
My name's Dennis Talkers. I live at 416 South Hannah Street in Albion. And my biggest concern isn't really the garbage pickup, it's a leaf pickup. Now, I own 3 lots on Hannah Street. I got a lot of leaves. And you've got like a 6-bag pickup a week. What am I gonna do with the rest of the leaves? You're gonna find out it's gonna create a problem. Because I've heard people talking in the backgrounds about their city trees. I got 4 city trees in my yard. And I'm cleaning up your mess. And then you gotta figure, I probably got 50, 60 bags. You're picking up 6 a week? What am I gonna do with the rest of them? Take them out and dump them in the country someplace? It's just not right. It's not right. And people that sit here or whatever, that got a piece of property, the chunk of this thing right here, put 2 bags out, that's fine. What's it doing to the people that got big properties? And they're your leaves. I've heard people talk about, well, why don't we just start cutting the trees down the terrace? We don't want to pick them up. I mean, That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Wayne Arnold again, 906 Hall Street. So am I under the impression that the city won't be picking up leaves no more?
Yes.
And so is that because we don't have the funds to pay the city workers to pick it up, or is it just something we just wanna,
That's the gist.
that's the gist of it? We don't have the money to pay the people to do that? Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Are there any additional citizen comments?
I got one.
Okay.
Jamie Jones, 1309 East Michigan Ave. So my question is, I guess, is that, so what happens if we don't want to do this? I mean, an ordinance is an ordinance, it's not a law. So are we going to be like fined for this if we don't do this? What's the protocol on this? I mean, we're all happy with the services that we have. We're railroaded into it, so I mean, so what do we go to jail if we don't abide by the ordinance that's passed by the city council that we didn't get to vote for? I mean, it's kind of like to know that. You know? So there's no ordinance for leaf pickup anyway, right? There is no ordinance in the city of Albion for leaf pickup right now. I mean, you don't have to rake your leaves. You don't have to do that, correct? There's no ordinance. So do we actually have to do this? I mean, is that what the ordinance says, is that we have to pay this $45, $47 for this? Yes. So we have to do this, but on record, there is no city ordinance for leaf pickup, right? So, but what's that all about? I mean, that just is, it's conflict of interest. Something's wrong there. Doesn't make sense. So is that something that we can get answered?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, does that make sense? There's no city ordinance about leaf pickup, but now we're ordered to do it.
So I've as we're going along, I'm writing down questions, so I am going to answer that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we don't have.
I mean, has this been answered before? Talked about?
Yes.
It has? And what's the answer?
Point of order, please.
I mean,
Point of order is to follow parliamentary procedure. We will answer their questions
Yeah.
after they're done, but if you keep answering their questions, we won't be able to answer the questions. We're supposed to the rules of parliamentary procedure.
Mr. Barnes.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
follow point of order then.
Yeah, I haven't answered this question. So I will answer your question.
I can respect that. That's fine. I
Okay.
respect that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Are there any other further questions?
Levada Weeks, 917 Luther Drive. I did not realize this was a done deal until tonight. I did not realize you couldn't say anything. I'm just making points evidently. Some of these people made some darn good points, and I hope you take it under your hat and do something about it. You're making us pay trash pickup. I was okay with a 3-hauler going to 1, but then you added all these other goodies in on it to jack up the price. I pay $150 a month right now to my hauler. Yes, sir. Once a year. I mean, I pay it a year. I don't know what I just said. But I pay $150 a year, and Granger wants $181. So you're not saving me any money. And I have someone that takes care of my grass. He also picks up my leaves and hauls them away. He picks up my branches and hauls them away. But now, if I continue doing what I'm doing, because I'm not going to be able to fill a bag of leaves, I will pay for a service that I'm not using, plus I will pay for the service that I do use. And I'd like to know in your discussion how you ended up with Granger. How long have they been in Albion? Waste Management has done so much for Albion, picking up all their sofas and anything that they didn't want for years, and a city paid for it, I'm sure. But how long has Granger been doing things for us? I never even heard of Granger until I saw it, that we'd gone with Granger. I would venture to guess they have very few customers in this town compared to Waste Management or even Republican. I just really think this is, like some of them said, jamming it down our throats. I was happy with the hauler I had. I understood why you wanted to go with one. I even thought, good deal, you only have one truck going around. You're not tearing up our streets. I was okay with that. But then when you add this other, I'm not okay with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizen comments?
Good evening. My name's Randy Burak. I'm at 808 North Superior.
Okay.
I moved in about a year ago now, and just had a couple of things lately. This, like everybody else, I hate to say I was blindsided. I can pretty much say I didn't pay enough attention to it. I saw a single hauler. I've got Republic. I said, I don't really care who picks up my trash. I pay monthly. It doesn't matter. And what you guys did is actually going to save me a couple of bucks. Where I have an issue is I have neighbors that, two single people, they split their trash fee. So now you've just doubled. And I don't want to say you did, because I understand what you guys are doing. You're trying to clean the city up. I have another neighbor that doesn't get trash pickup. I watch him toss it where he can, and I've considered calling the police a few times. I won't go any further on the tape for that. But anyways, it's a done deal, and I understand the reasoning behind it. You clean the city up, and you save most of us a few bucks. Where we have issues is, if some people decide to go to Florida for the winter, from what I understand, they have to pay the fee. You're gonna answer all this later, so it doesn't matter whether it's an occupied or unoccupied house. If it's unoccupied, long-term, I mean, there's, the county land bank owns a lot of houses, I'm sure you guys know. Is there a fee? You understand what I'm saying? Does there have to be a can in front of every house? And how is this gonna be enforced? Because I still think that my neighbors should be allowed to split it. Two single people, they're never gonna fill up a can a week. They should be allowed to split it. As long as enough people pay for it, they can probably get away with that. Now, if the numbers fall too low and Granger is not making any money, then there's gonna be a problem, and suddenly everybody's gonna look and wanna know who's getting garbage pickup. I'm curious how it's gonna be enforced. Like I said, I save a few bucks, thank you. My neighbors now have to get their garbage picked up, thank you. But if I go to Florida or Mexico for the winter, I don't wanna have to pay them $15. And I don't wanna worry about the city manager chasing me down for $100 a day for a fee, because while I was in Florida, there wasn't a garbage can out in front of my house every Tuesday. So there's just a lot of issues. It's a done deal. We all didn't pay attention soon enough. It's our fault. No, I'm sorry, it is our fault. Because I saw single pickup, and like I said one company, it makes sense. You got one truck going down once a week. Makes great sense. But when you force people to comply, that's where it gets kind of shaky. So that's where I have an issue with it, is just the forcing people to comply, and how are you gonna do that? I mean, and I know you don't wanna do that. I know that's the last thing that you guys wanna do, is to go see who's got a garbage can in front of their house. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I think with that, if there are no other citizen comments, well, this gentleman hasn't gone yet, so.
I just got one question. I was up here before. As far as a leaf pickup, you got a 6-bag limit. What do you do with the rest of the bags that you got sitting out in the yard if they're only coming around once a week? Are you gonna have a central dropping point? Or do you take them out in the country and throw them alongside the road, or what do you do?
Six bags every week.
So,
I've got 60 bags, I'm gonna leave them set in my yard?
okay,
You know, I don't understand.
okay, thank you. So,
Ed Trine, 709 Division. I got a question on how they're going to do the sign-up. Is the city allowed to take and pass on to a third party people's names and addresses? You're telling me they can? Isn't that invasion of people's privacy?
I'm gonna write that down. We're gonna discuss that, so, yeah.
And is Granger set up to take 2,400 phone calls? For people to sign up?
So, okay. We're gonna answer that. Thank
And
you.
I do have one problem with the people not answering questions while we're up here. What if a person has a follow-up question?
I think in this form, so per our council rules, we allow the audience or the public to comment. And so it really respects you, and then it also allows the council to have a discussion. The mayor's usually the parliamentarian in these things, so I think given the situation, I wouldn't object to any questions once we start discussion if there's a pertinent question. So yeah, I'm not gonna.
But by that time, the person is left. You see what I'm saying? The person has gone and sat back down.
Well, like, the thing is, we have to get through all the questions because, one person could stay there. So, yeah, I know. Thank you all. We're gonna move on to council discussion of this. Items for individual discussion, agenda item A, single hauler process. I'm actually going to start the process off as just an overview of a high-level overview of what's going on. The city operates out of different funds. General fund, most of the services that the city provides come out of that. There's a solid waste fund, which has usually provided the funding for the leaf pickup that we do seasonally in the fall. The city is basically divided into quadrants, and there are dates where the city comes through and picks up leaves. As the city has faced economic hardship, that fund has started to I guess, be depleted. The city manager has really made a valiant effort to get more funding in that, so we were able to increase some mills through state law, basically allowed us to do that. But when you still do projections for that, we arrive at a situation where the city can no longer provide that service. So unless the city wanted to ask the citizens for a millage for that, which is a tax increase, or basically try for that. The idea was to find a win-win situation that would allow us to continue that service and potentially also have a positive impact on the rates for refuge pickup. So the idea was, as for example, the city of Battle Creek does, every week in Battle Creek, residents get garbage pickup, recycling, yard waste pickup every week. The city's larger, so volume helps with reducing the costs. But the idea is basically with the volume of everyone using the same service, it reduces the overall cost on average for everyone. So we said, well, Albion being a smaller community, why not tweak that to work for a city our size? So we'd have refuge picked up every week and yard waste every other week. And the implication of that is, let's say during the season, the fall season when the leaves are picking up, if you miss that date, and unless the city happens to have enough resources to make a second kind of round in your neighborhood, that resident is left to deal with those leaves. In this scenario, during that period, you can still continue to put bags out throughout the year, and then even, let's say during warmer months, if you have yard clippings or twigs or those kinds of things, you can dispose of those as well. So I think that was the thinking behind it. I think one thing we have to remember, and this goes back to Mr. Jones' question about the ordinance requiring leaf pickup. I'm not sure that we actually have an ordinance. We have an ordinance requiring everyone in the city to have refuge pickup. So right now, if you live in Albion, you are required to have garbage service. So whether or not there's single hauler, that is an ordinance, a law in the city. So what we're trying to do is to try to preserve a service and reduce costs on average, and then also allow people the residents to comply with an ordinance that's already in place that says you have to have refuge pickup. There was a question about what if you don't abide, it's another one of Mr. Jones' questions, if someone did not abide by the ordinance.
We have an ordinance that makes it a civil infraction with a step increase as to subsequent penalties. So non-compliance is a civil infraction.
The city, and I guess there was a question about, I guess, names and information to companies. In other municipalities can privatize different services.
Yes.
So if the city was in a financial situation where we could not afford to run our water department, we could contract with the company to run the water system, and they could have access to that information. So the city, that is within the city's, I guess, prerogative to do that, to provide services to the residents. So, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, pretty much everybody's name and address is a matter of public record. Anybody can look it up any number of ways. Property records, tax records, they're readily accessible to the public.
And before, like I said, before we have council discussion, I'm gonna ask the city manager, do you have any?
Well, there were a number of questions that were raised on the topic. The prior mayor and council started this, I would say, at least 2 years ago, with conversations with a number of the vendors in town before we moved forward with even going for an RFP. And what started the conversation was that our leaf pickup service was running at a deficit. In 2014, I think it exceeded $60,000 in terms of the deficit. So we have to do something different. So that's what started the conversation. We can't continue the leaf pickup program as we operate it now. So even if there were not a single hauler in Albion, we would have to do something different with leaf pickup. And most likely there will be 1 or 2 locations in town where people would have to pick up their own leaves and bring them to those sites. And it was determined by the mayor and council last year that would be a major imposition on most residents, and especially seniors and those with physical challenges. So what was the next best alternative? And that's where we started exploring looking at a single hauler with the option of the leaf pickup as well. It was determined not to include the recycling program because we already have an agreement with Calhoun County relative to recycling, so we were just going to keep that in place and looking at the core services that we do need. One of the things with the leaves, they're only supposed to be picking up when we're using the city crews, those leaves that are the city trees, which are in the berm area. But most people take all of their leaves and take them to the berm area. That also has an impact on the water system and clogging the drains. So we were trying to find a solution that had the most positive impact citywide to address some of the dumping issues that we're having. We recognize that there are people who are not paying for service, either by sharing with someone else or finding an open dumpster wherever they can. But there is an ordinance in place, and we do need people to be compliant if we do want to clean up the city. In part of my conversations with many individuals around town, I'm finding that even with this rate, it's lower than the discounted rate that even seniors are getting, and it's adding in the service of the leaf pickup. Now, there's variations. Every once in a while, you'll find someone that it is going to be a little bit more, but many people in town are paying $75 to $90 a quarter just for the garbage pickup. So this holds those prices in line. There was one question relative to the ability to increase them over the 3 years. If there are extenuating circumstances such as gas really does double in price, then the vendor can come back to council to ask for an increase, but it's up to council to approve it. It's not automatic by any means. They would have to prove their case. But essentially, those prices are held for the 3 years duration of the contract.
Attorney.
I just wanted the council to know that initially Granger presented a contract. Both the manager and I took a look at it. I made various edits to the contract. I think Granger came back and was fine with about 95% of those edits and made some minor changes to a couple of them, and those minor changes are acceptable to me, so the contract is in an acceptable form as far as my office is concerned.
Can you go over the termination?
Sure.
Just to let people know. Yeah.
Let me just find it here. So there is, as far as termination goes, if the contractor is a judge bankrupt, or if they should make, if they have a receiver appointed, or if they are found to be in violation of state or city law, we can terminate the contract with 30 days notice and rebid the contract. There's a separate provision, forgive me, I'm trying to find it. There's a separate provision where we can, basically if there's an issue that goes unaddressed, we also have the right to terminate the contract if that issue goes unaddressed with appropriate notice to the vendor. But it's a 3-year contract. It automatically terminates at the end of 3 years unless it's renewed by the council. There was an automatic renewal provision that has been renewed by my office.
Okay. Councilmember Reed.
I'm just wondering if maybe the sheet that the council was provided with, single hauler frequently asked questions, if some could be made available to be downstairs that people could see, because a lot of the questions you asked have been answered on here. And a lot of what we have is what you heard somebody tell you, or something that you really may not understand, and this might help you understand it better. So I was just wondering, Ms. Mitchell, if maybe some of these could be put down at the window where...
Mayor Brown, if I could respond, they are downstairs. There are also some copies still here. They're on our website. There's been links to the information on Facebook, as well as our electronic newsletter. I know our local recorder has been covering the topic as well, so we're trying to disseminate it. As soon as we actually do have a signed contract, we'll be working with Granger to make sure that notices are given to each household. And as soon as we actually have an arrangement, we can also start inserting notices in the water bills.
Because I think if people saw this, they would better understand how it's a benefit.
Thank you. Councilmember French.
Thank you, Mayor. I just might also add, as part of the social networking, Councilman Lawler put up on this new app, which is Nextdoor, and some in the audience have been participating in the group discussions on that app as well. So I really appreciate the efforts that you've done to sort of, again, communication has been an issue in our city for a long, long time, and so ways that we can connect with our citizens are always appreciated, so we accept all those suggestions. I think that it's impossible for everyone to be completely happy with anything that we do. And I think that this opportunity that we have before us is a chance for our citizens to be re-engaged in the process of representative government. Representative government means that you elect us for the benefit of your town and yourself. And sometimes we have to make decisions that don't benefit you directly, but we as a council agree is for the benefit of the entire city. And I think this is one of those instances. There are people here who oppose this for lots of different reasons. But there are 2,400 residents' houses that need garbage pickup, and they all have their own reasons to either like the idea or not like the idea. This is not a diminution of freedoms. It is simply a demonstration of representative form of government. that if you don't like what we are doing, you are at liberty to take action, whether it be through protest, whether it be through coming to council and voicing your concerns, whether it be voting us out of these positions. That's what representative government is all about. And so I understand some of your concerns, but at the end of the day, the city of Albion will have a cleaner city for less money, given the fact that we don't have the resources that we used to have to handle our leaf pickup. You know, Albion has been certified every year by the Arbor Day group as a tree-friendly city, and this is a price for that. And so if we want our city to be beautiful, the trees that shade us in the summer and the spring, then this is a price that we get to pay, and the price, in my mind, is less for the vast majority of citizens in Albion. Thank you.
Are there other, Councilmember Barnes?
I want to thank you all for coming out and voicing your concerns. Your concerns are being heard. I would like to share, however, that over a 2-year period, there has been an effort to get this information out that we wanted to select one hall. We've had study sessions on it. We've had public meetings here over the time. The young lady here was at the meeting, Mrs. Showers, and she voiced her opinions then, and they were heard. I'm saying that to validate that some of you have been here before, and yes, we do have a tough time universally getting the word out because of the different demographics, that everyone doesn't have internet, everyone doesn't have different apps, and et cetera, et cetera. So has been a challenge for us. We have a website. This was in the Morning Star, was in the Recorder. So we have made that effort. The main question that I want to have answered for you now, because I have received a lot of feedback that citizens do not want it at church, at Philpott, wherever I've gone in the city recently, at the Bone. Most people have desired they don't want it. My question for our city attorney is, I'm sure there's a legal situation that we may be under because we did put the ordinance in, we did put out the RFP. There was an acceptance of the RFP. Now, my question is, are we putting ourselves in jeopardy of legal litigation from Granger or any of the other people who put in bids that could cause us harm financially, Color?
My advice to council would be is that you're at the point in the process where having modified the ordinance, having put out an RFP, having received bids on the RFP, and having communicated an acceptance in an RFP, my advice would be to proceed with the process. To back out at this point would strongly be against my advice, because I think you are going to open yourself up to potential litigation from not only the company that you've agreed to enter into an agreement with, because there's already a contract of sorts in place there, but other haulers that no longer will be operating in the city may or may not have already taken steps in reliance on no longer doing business in the city. And so the short answer to your question is yes. I think you could be exposing yourself to liability, and my advice would be to proceed as you've been doing.
A final statement would be, we have had a major dumping problem in Albion. You may check some of the county side roads, Erie Street, Austin, all around the area. Our public safety department has gotten calls of this dumping. I've seen some myself. I went out there. So at this point, we have boxed ourselves in, I'm gonna be honest. And if we've done something to offend you, I apologize. However, I believe being here on that council those last 2 years, we did make a diligent effort to notify the public. So I'm sorry if anything happened, but we have to move forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Lawler.
First of all, I want to apologize to my precinct and any other citizen of Albion. I was aware that we voted on this already, and I know I had a couple people ask me, did we vote on this already? And I said no, so I apologize for the miscommunication. I have two things that I'm concerned about with this, and hopefully we can get it resolved. That if there is a fine if the service stops. I can't pay my $43.50 and you chase me down for $100. If I couldn't pay the $43.50, I definitely can't pay the $100. So, I think we kinda need to take a closer look at that. And, my next concern was, I had a question brought to me that can we, keep the trash and let people be responsible themselves for their leaf pickup? They, said to me that the leaf pickup was only like once those couple months anyway. And when the city didn't come around to pick up, they had to dispose of them some other type of way, themselves. So, that was a question that was brought to my attention, so, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other? City Manager.
Mayor, I just wanted to make another point in regards to it being applicable to residential housing. It's for housing that has 1 or 2 units. So if it's rental housing, it's only if it's 1 or 2. If it exceeds 2 units, then it's considered commercial. So they wouldn't be impacted by the single hauler. Any of those organizations who contract with us and get the proper license could continue their commercial licensing. But we have a representative here from Granger, and I would like to ask them to come forward because I did have one question in regards to vacant property, if they could address how they do handle that.
Thanks, Manager Mitchell. Appreciate the chance to be here. Absolutely.
Okay. Would you give your name?
My name is Sean McHugh. I am the Director of Sales for Granger Waste Services.
So we have a number of properties that are not currently occupied. How do you address those to the trash pickup?
Yes, we're going to do occupied units or livable units. I'm not sure what the contract says, perhaps. Mr. Harkness knows. It's not our intent to have a vacant home pay for service, obviously. The terminology is either occupied home, living dwelling, or I think it's certain. If it's not in there now, we could certainly define it that way as a tweak to the agreement.
I don't think it makes a distinction between occupied and non-occupied, but that's an easy fix.
Okay.
So if it's not there, we may need to tweak that language.
Just add in like 2 words.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the definition is, if it's not lived in, the city's not providing water or other services, or it's condemned or something like that. I mean, certainly we don't want, that's not our intent. There might be unimproved property that may be, and it's not our intent to have that count as a unit also.
Councilmember French.
So, to speak to Ms. Shower's concern about an unoccupied apartment, say in a 2-unit house, if that unit is empty, then we would not expect that unit would have garbage to it. So just be like any other, and you're contracting with the individual resident, so you would then work either with the landlord or the new occupant to deliver that service, depending on what the landlord wanted to provide.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify that if there is say a duplex, and it's a rental, so that owner would only be paying for that house, that unit, that building, not for each individual apartment there. Am I understanding that correctly?
I don't believe so. Each unit in that would be a livable unit, so that would be each unit would be charged. So each family unit.
Okay. My other question is with regard to the leaf pickup. We are, or yard waste, being charged monthly there's a monthly fee for that. So then for the 12 months, well, in the winter you wouldn't, but can at any point in time from, say, spring till end of fall, the resident would be able to put out yard waste, whether it be leaves, grass clippings, or whatever, correct? Am I understanding
That's
that
correct. Our yard waste season runs from the 1st of April through the end of November. So
That's-
any week during those periods, it would be acceptable.
Thank you.
Oh,
Congratulations on,
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I ask that Mr. McHugh
yes.
speak to the front of house service? I've been contacted about concerns. I have a resident who's physically limited, and could you speak to the cause and the service that you offer, the front of house service that you offer?
Absolutely. The front of the house service, we would go up to the house to get the cart in the trash and bring it back to the truck and replace it where it was found. Oftentimes, it's harder, and I apologize, I have some residents who like the cart. They say, I can get it out there because it gives me some stability while I'm walking, but I don't recommend that. Others say, oh no, I could never manipulate that cart. Either way is fine. If they want to have it up at the front of the house, we'll retrieve it from there, service the trash, and return it. That way, they simply need to bring their bag of trash or their trash out to, say, the front of the garage or out the front door and place the trash in there so they don't have to get it to the street side.
Just a quick follow-up to that. I'm assuming the next step in that question is there extra charge for that?
There is no extra charge for that. Okay. The only thing that we ask is, and I tried to cover this with Mr. Harkness, was just to make sure that there's some blessing, so to speak, that that there is a legitimate issue at that residence.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Just thank you, because thanks for answering that, because I think that's one of the things that I did notice when I looked at how Battle Creek does theirs, is that there's actually a fee for that. Some vendors do charge for senior residents to do that, so that is important. Councilmember French, and after Councilmember French asks this question, I'll do one more question, and then we have the next meeting.
Just a quick follow-up. One of the things that we've had for years is that the leaves don't fall until December. And so those of us with big oak trees. So I'm wondering if we could extend the leaf pickup by just 2 weeks into December. Even if you take it off at the beginning of April. So we start with, say, starting at tax day, and we end on December 16th. Because I would say 3 of the last 4 years, my oak leaves didn't drop until the first week in December. And if we have to wait another 5 months or pay extra, find someplace else to do it, I think that would be helpful. I think that, I don't know if that's possible, but
The short answer to that is, I can check. And apologies, the long answer is, in Michigan, the materials have to be ground and placed in windrows, and when we get weather that is inclement, we cannot do that process. So this year got a glorious fall all the way into December. We were
my leaves didn't drop until
excited.
before the snow.
Excited. Other years it's snowing in October and we're in trouble. So it would be tenuous to try to bet on that. It might be one of those things that we do as the season goes and say, we might be able to extend it more. Okay. I would have to really double check on that too, and my operations manager would probably.
We're under, I'm guessing under 2 minutes here, so I'm gonna let Councilmember Lawler ask her question.
Would you be willing to make the leaf pickup an option? Because we do have a tree dump we can take our leaves to. So would you be willing to at least think about having the leaf pickup for residents as an option?
I don't think that would be possible with the capital cost that's involved in collecting that. The rates that are there are because of, the strength in numbers.
Yeah. So, and then the last clarifying question I have is, yard week, just for people to know, what's the frequency of the yard waste pickup?
It's, I believe the council chose weekly, and that is my understanding. I did present both every other week and weekly, but weekly was the choice.
Council member,
One quick, please.
well, actually, it's on the next agenda, so I want to respect the next meeting, so I'm gonna do that. So, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Congratulations, Mayor. Congratulations. to
Okay,
those women.
can I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're gonna take a 5-minute, actually,